Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to the regular meeting of the Hayden City Council for September 26, 2023. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Abby, could I have a roll call of council members, please?
Council President Roeder?
Yes.
Councilmember DePriest?
Yes.
Councilmember Satterfield?
Yes.
And Councilmember White? Yes.
Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Members of council, I'd like to suggest one correction, one addition actually, to our agenda tonight. Ms. Malaya Samsel, who is chairman of the city's Parks, Recreation, Urban Forestry Committee, is here to give an overview, an update of what the committee's been up to, and I would appreciate a motion from council to insert that report after public comment tonight.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please, Abby.
Council President Roeder?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember DePriest?
Yes.
And Councilmember Satterfield?
Yes. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I had an opportunity yesterday to meet a remarkable young lady. Her name is Adrienne Rhodes. She has suffered many, many health problems in her short life. She's been in and out of the hospital about as many years as I've had birthdays, about as many times as I've had birthdays. She could fully be within her rights to feel pretty sorry for herself. However, this young lady has completely turned that around. What she does is her best to make other people all across the country that are in her similar situation feel just a little bit better. The city clerk and I had a chance to meet with her yesterday, and I was moved by the dedication and the incredible positive attitude that this young lady has. As such, I would like to make a proclamation. Whereas Adrienne Rhodes, Adri as she is known, is a Hayden resident and the creator of Kindness Crates. Whereas Adri is battling a long list of health disorders and conditions, leaving her in a wheelchair. And whereas Kindness Crates is a care package program. And whereas Adri sends Kindness Crates to young patients battling illnesses throughout the United States, challenging the recipients to do something kind for somebody else. And whereas her thoughtfulness, positivity, kindness, and generosity is greatly appreciated and a great example for others to follow. Now, therefore, I, Scott Purcell, Mayor of Hayden, do here proclaim Monday, September 25th, 2023, Adrienne Rhodes Day in the city of Hayden, and I urge all citizens of Hayden to let Adri be our example, strive to show kindness to others, and to make a positive impact on our youth and community. Here's Adri. Adri's Kindness Crates have been picked up by a national organization, Melodic Caring Project. We also had a chance to meet the founders of Melodic Caring Project yesterday, and they are truly outstanding individuals. If you have an opportunity to meet them or check out their website, melodiccaringproject.org, it'll be well worth your time. Thank you. Moving on. Many of you have already heard me say this many, many times. The city of Hayden does business 5 days a week, 9 hours a day. However, there are some things that the city of Hayden does that requires the approval or the consent of city council. Our consent calendar for tonight is 2A, the approval of September 12th, 2023 city council special meeting. 2B, the approval of September 12th, 2023 city council meeting minutes. 2C, the approval of the addition of engineering technician to kinds and levels chart for the city. 2D, the approval of DBJ LLC land acquisition documents for the Ramsey Road Extension Project. 2E, the approval of Daniel and Deanne Sir land acquisition documents for Ramsey Road Extension Project. 2F, the approval of amendments for continuing consultant services for JUB on the H6 sewer basin projects. 2G, the acceptance of David and Sarah Adams' dedication of right-of-way and grant of easement. 2H, the approval of Hayden Canyon First Edition final plat. 2I, the ratification of bills paid on 9/18/2023. And 2J, the approval of bills for payment. Council members, is there any discussion or question on these items?
Mayor, I have one real quick question. I haven't done this in a long time.
Mr. Roeder.
Thank you, Mayor. One of the questions I have is on page 14 of 17 to Reagan Equipment for a
And this is bills paid, is that correct?
bills paid, and it says for an oil leak. It's for $4,600. And I was wondering what that was about.
$4,600?
Which page?
Street sweeper. Yeah, it says repair oil leak, and it was paid on.
Reagan Equipment, so I think it's a hydraulic, it was a hydraulic leak in one of our large mowers.
Yeah, 4677.
Yeah, required removing the motor and just about disassembling the piece of equipment to get in and repair the hydraulic leak in the hydraulic motor.
So it's justified. That's
Yes.
all because it was just stuck out of me.
Yeah, no,
That's a lot of oil.
believe me, it's,
If it was just oil, yeah.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion or a motion regarding the consent calendar.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion to approve the consent calendar, motion to approve the consent calendar, and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please, Abby.
Councilmember White? Yes. Council President Roeder?
Yes.
Councilmember DePriest?
Yes.
And Councilmember Satterfield?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next part of our calendar here is the visitor and public comment period. If any of you wish to stand up and be counted here this evening for public comment, we would love to have you do so. If you wish to speak, please fill out a card in the back of the room that looks something like this and bring it up to the front here to us. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes. At approximately the 4-minute mark, I'll wave a paper to let you know that you have 1 minute remaining. We expect commenters to be respectful of other citizens and of council members. Council will not hear comments on any planning and zoning matter that's before the city or is known to be a likely application. And when it is your turn to speak, please approach the podium and state your name and whether you reside within the Hayden city limits. So 5A, is that a hearing? An annexation request?
Yeah, he's representing the applicant.
Okay, good deal. I don't see any thunder of people moving to the back of the room to get a piece of paper, so evidently we do not have comments tonight. The next thing on our agenda is an update from Ms. Malaya Samsel, who is chairman of Hayden's Parks, Recreation, and Urban Forest Committee. Thank you very much for being here tonight, and we certainly do appreciate everything you do for the city. Thank you.
No problem. Again, my name's Malia, current chair of the Parks, Rec, and Community Forest Commission. Just wanted to give a real quick update of what we've been up to. Our recent events, we assist in several city events that your city staff put on. The Kite Festival, we had around 175 attended. Our commission members helped do some judging in that event. It's really fun for the community. It happens at Broadmoor Park every year. Arbor Day, really big event. Our commission members, most of them, I think, volunteered this year. We have a current 5-member commission. We are allowed to have up to 7 commissioners on that board. Arbor Day had almost 600 students, teachers, and parents, and it was reasonable weather this year. So it was a really great day. That's unusual for Arbor Day, right, Donna? Yeah. Bike rodeo. That's at the Hayden City Library. Volunteers put it on. We had a little over 150 kids. Kootenai Health comes and donates helmets, fits kids for helmets. We have a couple of bike shop volunteers that come and do maintenance checks. And then our commission members and some other volunteers set up obstacle courses and help navigate the flow. So it was a good turnout and great weather again for that event. The Hayden Days Parade, most of you probably saw that. Around 1,000 spectators, 40 entries with about 275 parade participants. We help with setting up the parade. That was you might have seen me out there this year, lining up floats, and then doing the judging. Right now we have a really good active group of commissioners that seem to be willing to show up to most events that they are in town for. Coming up, the next thing we have is the Friday Night Frights. That's our trunk or treat event that is now located in the Hayden Meadows Elementary School parking lot. Typically around 500 kids. Our first one was the COVID year and it was in this parking lot. And the attendance far surpassed what we thought was going to happen. So now that's a very well attended event. Pretty short and sweet, like an hour and a half, and a lot of kids come through and we get to pass out candy and see all their costumes. That's on October 27th, so come on down. And then the Hayden Lights Parade, Saturday, December 2nd. So that usually brings around 800 people. Our commissioners usually help with the judging, and we'll see about parade lineup.
She's a pro now.
I'm a pro. I'm not scared to line up floats. Current projects that we're talking about and kicking around. First thing, we've established a Honeysuckle Beach subcommittee. So we have 2 members that are very active at Honeysuckle Beach to bring us reports and coordinate things. And then we have a newly established pickleball committee because pickleball is a thing. So Honeysuckle Beach signage, we're going to be working on updating and replacing and adding to some signage down there. We'll be making some of those recommendations early in the year. We plan to do that in our February meeting and hopefully get those placed by May 1st for the Honeysuckle Beach chaos to begin. Broadmoor Disc Golf, you may remember we put in a junior disc golf there. It's a 5-hole. It's now a 4-hole temporarily. It's a 5-hole junior disc golf course, neighborhood park. We partnered with the U.S. Junior Disc Golf Association based out of Spokane, who helped design it, install it. We've had vandalism there. One of our baskets was stolen, which is kind of difficult to do. Well, apparently not, but not difficult enough. So that was stolen, and that's for our budget. We raised all the money. That was all installed by community-funded sponsorships. So we're working on replacing that. We installed it, maybe 2 years ago? Not even. It's pretty new. And as you know, cost of materials significantly increased. So we're working on replacing that. And then we had some errors in the design and graphics on the signs there. So the new signage is on the way. Those will be installed hopefully in the next few weeks. Pickleball courts, that's been on every community survey that we've done, the need for pickleball courts. City of Hayden has a huge number of pickleball players. We actually are home to, I believe, the biggest pickleball paddle manufacturer in the country, certainly the most popular in the Pacific Northwest, right here in Hayden, and we do not have pickleball courts. So the community really wants them. There's a huge shortage in our community, so we're looking into placement funding for installing pickleball courts in hopefully a couple of locations in our parks. And we're working with the Inland Northwest Pickleball Association, who is extremely active to help with guidance and funding opportunities. And then Stoddard Park barn renovation, that's something that's kind of coming into our sphere. The Stoddard Park barn has been in need of updating and renovation, and we're working with the city, likely the historic committee, to make recommendations to you all as far as what direction our community wants to go with that project. So there we go. That's what we're up to.
Leah, you mentioned that you were going to be working on some signage for Honeysuckle Beach. What are the types of signs that you're thinking of?
So updating the rules, more accurately reflecting what our city ordinances are, so that the people that we have volunteering down there can have something to point to. See, there's no dogs allowed in our park. See, you shouldn't be mooring your boat on the dock. You shouldn't be swimming outside of the dock. Things like that, just to solve some of the traffic, like foot traffic and boat, swimmer, fishing situations. And just to reinforce what our current city code is. Because that seems to be a continuous issue with those who try to help our citizens follow the code.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Satterfield.
One of the things I hear the most about Honeysuckle Beach is the folks who put up those big awnings. They take up a lot of space, a lot of room and stuff, but your guys' commission is just unbelievable. The things you guys do, the participation in the community. I didn't go this year, but I went a year or two ago to the bike rodeo. I mean, those kids are just, wow. I mean, it's serious business to them, but they so enjoy themselves, and kudos to you guys for everything you do, and it is appreciated by the community, believe me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have access to a really great group of volunteers, and the city group, I don't know how the Parks and Rec and events, very small group, pulls it off. So they're the ones that do it. We get to help them out sometimes.
Other questions from council?
I'd just like to make a
Ms. White.
comment. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just really want to agree with Roger here that you guys do a great job. I've sat in on your committee meetings, and, you know, I want to be a part of the Stoddard Park Barn Renovation Committee because I think it's so exciting to preserve that historic landmark in our city. And yeah, I've been to the bike rodeos, the Arbor Days, the Kite Festival, all these things, and I think it's really important for Hayden to be the small hometown that it is, and this just all is frosting on the cake, and I just want to thank you for all you do to help.
Malia, thank you very much for coming here tonight and giving us an update on what you guys have been doing. You do an awesome job, and if you please pass it on to the rest of the commission, we'd
Will
appreciate
do.
it, committee.
Thank you, council. Thank you, Mayor.
First item, number 4, our unfinished business, to adopt a resolution to proceed with eminent domain. The resolution that we are going to be addressing, council members, is a resolution of the city of Hayden, Idaho, approving the commencement.
You don't have to read that, that's draft.
He's just going to read the caption.
Okay,
That's okay.
Approving the commencement of condemnation proceedings for the real property located at 849 West Buckles Road in Hayden. Council members, do we have any questions or comments regarding this resolution? Mr. Roder.
Thank you, Mayor. One of my concerns, this is a project that has been going on for a number of years, maybe 7 or 8.
We started this in 2012,
So,
entered into a contract with the funding source.
so it's a project that's been worked on for many years, and there's been a lot of money spent on it. Money spent for design, engineering, and all the other right-of-way acquisition. My concern is that there's a drop-dead deadline on this, that if we do not have all the parts, pieces put together, we could lose the federal funding on this, which is a high percentage of the cost of this project. If we do not complete all the last puzzle, my understanding of this project, we will lose that federal funding, and we will, as a city, spend a lot of money, and I don't know exactly how much, but I know it's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on this project that will go to waste. So this is a difficult issue, eminent domain, in my mind, because we're looking at private property rights and protecting private property rights and for the citizens of Hayden, yet I don't want to jeopardize the cost of this project and put it on the backs of the taxpayers, where all this money could be spent and it would be their money and we would lose it. It'd be for no good. For that reason, I don't want to put that on the cost of this on the back of the taxpayers without something happening, like having a road that is badly needed in the city of Hayden. So I support this resolution.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Roeder. Mr. DePriest?
Yeah, I go right along with Councilmember Roeder just said. Project's been going on for a long time. If I'm not mistaken, it is millions of dollars we're talking about. And attempts have been made and I believe can still be made. Okay, this action doesn't preclude anything from continuing. But Alan, when is the date here that we're looking at to possibly lose funding?
The funding has to be secured in 2024. They prefer to have all the documents completed prior to the 2024 year, which is October 1st. We will not meet that deadline, but we have been in contact with the funding agencies and they understand where we're at and they realize how close we are to being able to move forward. And they have given us a short window of opportunity to complete this.
Thank you. So we're up against the deadline here. We've gone as far as we can. And as I believe Councilmember Roeder said, we lose, if we don't do this, the whole project could be lost. And we have a traffic problem as it is, that is almost constantly being spoken about. Wherever you go, people talk about the traffic. And this project will hopefully, to some degree, mitigate a portion of the traffic issues that we have. And so I think we are left with really no other choice than to take this action at this point in time. So I too support it.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, for clarification for the public, all of the right-of-way acquisition for this project is complete with the exception of this one parcel. This is the last remaining parcel. And negotiations are going to still be ongoing, and I'm still hopeful that this matter can be resolved amicably. However, for Alan to be able to sign his certification to secure the federal funding, we need to file this in court, have the proceedings initiated. We can still continue to negotiate, and we can get our early access order from the court. That will be sufficient for Alan to be able to certify that right-of-way has been acquired while we're still hopeful to resolve this with the landowner.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Satterfield?
I don't like doing this. It goes against me as far as I'm a property rights person. But there are exceptions to everything, and this is an exception. Like it's already been said, millions of dollars have already been spent on this. One of my other concerns is that if we don't pull this off, is we may have to pay back some of the money. So it's kind of a double whammy, I guess, in some respects. I think it's also very crucial to our connectivity with trying to connect Lancaster Road with Ramsey Road. One of the biggest things in our survey from our citizens were traffic issues. We all see the traffic backing up. None of us like sitting in line, but this will help it. And it's just the first part of things that will help it. We have plans further down Ramsey Road. If we can't pull this off, it's just not going to be a good thing. And this project benefits the majority of our citizens because it does help that traffic. And I wish we could come to terms with this property owner, but we have with everybody else, and I'm in favor of doing this, even though it kind of goes against my grain. It's just something that has to be done. Thank you.
Ms. White?
Yes, I'd just like to say that I've been dreading this day since I've seen this project progressing. I'm opposed to the exercise of eminent domain, so I will be voting against it today. Thank you.
Ms. White, I see some real value to eminent domain, and when we have landowners that we cannot come to agreement with, despite our best efforts to do so, if we don't have eminent domain, I know in the comprehensive plan suggested changes, you suggested eliminating eminent domain and paying above fair market value for property. How far above fair market value do you think we should go if we don't exercise eminent domain?
Mr. Mayor, I respect what you have to say, but I am not here to debate this today. I'm just telling you that I am not voting in favor of eminent domain today.
So you are not opposed to eminent domain generally, it's just this particular project?
I am voting no today. Thank you.
Other comments or questions?
One
Mr.
more,
Roder.
yeah, I'll be on the end of this year, I'll be 7 years on council, and during those 7 years, we've never exercised eminent domain. So I think, we have to go to a pretty extreme point to where we get here. And hopefully we don't have to use this in the future, but it's the only, again, one time that we've used it in 8 years.
Other comments or questions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion regarding adopting the resolution that I previously read. Regarding proceeding with condemnation.
So moved. I believe that it is vital that we give Allen out the tool to preserve this project so that it does not fall on the backs of the taxpayer to fund it if it does not go through, and hopefully that we don't have to pay back money. I think that there's no other alternative at this point in time. As council said, negotiations are still continuing, and there is the possibility of hopefully, nobody wants to go to court, okay? Hopefully settling this issue with the landowner before it gets that far. But we're on a deadline here, talking multiple millions of dollars on a project, as I said earlier. So I would move to move forward with this action.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion from council? Hearing none, roll call vote, please, Abby.
Councilmember White?
No.
Councilmember Satterfield?
Yes.
Council President Roder?
Yes.
Councilmember DePriest?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item number 5, new business 5A, the WISE annexation agreement. Donna, is that you? It is. All right.
Good evening. Tonight we have a request for an annexation request. So as the process goes, an applicant requests the city council. Oh, yes, you could do that.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's all right. We have a person participating.
Thank you.
All right, let's try that again. Oh, you're gonna do that. That works.
Please enter your
Oh, can you turn that little,
What am I doing?
the little settings wheel, yeah.
the access code. The access code you entered is invalid. You entered. Please enter your access code. To enable audio controls.
Sorry, we're a little out of practice, right? All right. Let's see, I have to, hold on. I'll have to share my screen. Right? There we go. And is it this guy?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm out of practice. All right, so tonight we're here to hear a request to annex. So as the annexation process works, applicants request to the city council the opportunity to consider an annexation. So should the city council say, yes, we'd like to consider this, it doesn't mean that they've annexed. They still have to apply for annexation, go through public hearings with the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then bring their recommendation forward and have a public hearing with city council. So this is just the first step in the many step process. So with that, just as a matter of location, this piece of property is south of Wyoming Avenue, one lot to the east of North Maple and one lot to the west of North Rocking R Road. The reason I wanted to bring this slide up is that in my memo that was provided to the council, whenever we have properties that are looking for an annexation when they're in a hole that is surrounded by the city council, and in this case, the city council, the city of Hayden's city boundary goes to the south side of Wyoming. So it includes all of Wyoming Avenue, and it includes all of the areas in pink. So just as a matter of clarification of what that's about. And then just two more slides, or three actually. The request is by Bart North of North Engineering, and the owner, James Wise, is on GoTo. That's why we had to get that up and running, so that he would be able to answer questions and participate as well. And so this request is to annex one lot that's approximately 1.63 acres into the city of Hayden with a zone designation of single-family residential R1. If you look at the future land use map, it shows it in a sea of single-family residential, as was identified in the memo, but the exhibit didn't make it in there. I must have gotten sidetracked. And then as a zoning map goes, the zoning designations today show the whole area surrounding it as single-family residential as well. Okay, with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant. are you presenting? Voila. It's kind of sort of a PDF up there.
Good evening, Council. My name is Bart North Engineering, out of Hayden, Idaho. I suppose that I would yield most of my time to any questions that you might have. This proposal for annexation is consistent, as Donna just demonstrated, it's consistent with the comprehensive plan, the surrounding zoning. What we have here is a concept overview of what, if it was annexed, the applicant would like to subdivide into 6 single-family residential lots with shared driveways onto Wyoming, which is consistent and in compliance with the city's access management ordinance. Water is available to the site from Avondale Irrigation District in Wyoming, and sewer is available to the site with a sewer main extension from North Rocking R Drive. With that, I would yield the rest of my time to answer any questions you might have.
Questions from council members regarding the proposal? Mr. Roeder?
So my understanding is that RBW LLC is the owner of the property.
Correct.
And are they in Idaho? Are they registered with the Idaho Secretary of State?
Yes.
Because I've got a document here for RBW, and I printed it off today, and it was inactive and dissolved administratively on March 7th, 2016. So my question is, how can an applicant apply for this if it's not a legal entity in Idaho?
Well, the ownership of this parcel is in a legal entity. We may, at this time, may be mistaken as to the status of the entity, but I assure you that there is a legitimate owner to this property. I was working with the applicant on his registration, and I believe that has been resolved.
Okay, I have a printout showing that it's.
I had the same printout. I had the same question.
Oh, okay. So who is the owner?
The applicants, one of the applicants is named Jim Weiss. He's grew up in Hayden. This is his, family parcel. They've owned it for decades. And it was, I believe the intent was to put it into the ownership of the property into this LLC.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions from council? Okay.
It just occurred to me there was a couple of points I'd like to make in passing. In the memo that was prepared by Donna, very well prepared, there is on the second page, there's two requirements of the submittal. They're labeled A and B. The first is will serve letters from the water and sewer entities would be submitted with the annexation application. The second is that the council will direct staff to send letters of interest to the remaining parcels in that island to see if they would like to annex along with this property. And the applicant doesn't have any control of that effort. If you read it, that the council will direct staff. And so we're just kind of wondering how that would transpire if the letter isn't set out. We don't have control of that effort to solicit from the other 14 property owners. So I just raised my hand on that one. Also, it looked like if the council did that, the annexation fees would be waived. And we're kind of wondering if the applicant would be, would also have that benefit as well.
Council members, in conversations with Don on this, we actually will have two motions tonight. The first one would be to consider the WISE annexation agreement, and second would be council's willingness to send letters to the other 13 parcels asking if they would like to be a part of this. So we'll have two motions to discuss. Any other questions of Mr. North? Mr. North, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming up.
Let's see. Oh, that's good. So, Mr. North did give the kind of the staff recommended conditions. Oftentimes when we have annexations come forward, we have a kind of a plethora of things that we suggest to do prior to an annexation request, but their annexation request is consistent with the long-range plans, so it didn't have any additional kinds of conditions associated to it. Will serve letters for the water and the sewer are kind of standard in annexations as far as who the water purveyor is and whether or not sewer is available. One of the questions that came up from during the process of after we sent out the memo was what kind of revenue would be generated, us making a lot of assumptions. This is a lot of assumptions. It's important to state that. So if we were to assume that the request to annex this property were approved and that a minor subdivision would come forward and be approved consistent with what Mr. North has provided, those are about 10,000 square foot lots, plus or minus. And if we were to propose an average home value of about $625,000, and you were to apply the maximum or the homeowner's exemption that each of those homes could get of $125,000, and you would apply our tax rate, yes, that's 0.00059, that would yield $295 per home, or for the 6 homes, it would be about $1,770. And using that same logic for the remainder of the 13 homes would get you about $38.35. I did go and look at all of those 13 other homes just to make sure that I was giving a good average for those. And although the gross value average was less than the 625, the net taxable value was more than the 625. So it really worked out to be just a little bit more than $4,000 in taxes. And then if you were to apply impact fees and sewer cap fees that could be generated in the new lots, for those 6 new lots, you generate under today's fees about $13,000, a little over $13,000 in parks impact fees, and about $14,500 in transportation dollars for impact fees. The city would have a sewer cap fee of about $31,000, and Harbs would generate about $30,000. Now, those built homes, all of the other 13 lots have homes on them. So they wouldn't really have any impact fees. And I was using a generic house size in the middle, not a big, not a small. But none of them are currently on sewer. So they're all on septic tanks. And so if they were to connect when they're in accordance with our Hayden City Code, at some point in the future, they would pay the cap fees that would be due at that point in the future. If they were to pay tomorrow, then those would be the cap fees that would be generated. So just as a kind of rule of thumb, that's what those fees would be.
Donna,
Uh-huh.
let me go back to that and see if I'm interpreting or understanding this correctly. Because I was one of them who's thinking, well, why waive the annexation fee? So what you're saying is for those 13 lots, roughly approximately 38, 35, I'm gonna use 4,000 for just an easy number, if we waive the annexation fees. And what you're saying here is that if they did decide to come in, and they don't have to, they could say, no, we're not interested, correct?
They could.
Okay. You're saying that we would receive 13,600 and 14,500 in impact fees for, what is that, 28,000 roughly?
For the proposed 6 lots for the one annexation lot that we're looking at.
Oh, just for that?
That one lot, should it subdivide into 6 lots of
Okay.
roughly 10,000, those would be the new lots.
The new lots. But my concern is, and I don't know, I'm guessing this is the right time to talk about, is the reaching out to the other 13 parcels and inviting them to annex in. What benefit would that be to us, to the city?
Well, all of those lots use all of our roads. And so right now, they're using all of our roads and paying nothing.
We get no property tax from them that goes to county or what?
Those are all in the county, those
Yeah.
other 13 lots.
Yeah, that was one of my questions there too.
They also use all of our parks, in addition to all of our roads, for free. And actually, the rest of the citizens in the city are paying for their use
Right.
of our roads and parks.
That's correct.
And let's see what else I have here. Oh, you answered this then. Now, is that Rocky R directly north, basically?
And to the east.
Kind of northeast,
Like
yeah. So I wasn't around. I don't know what went on when Rocky R, was Rocky R similarly annexed in?
Properties get annexed in at the request of their owners. I can't say for sure how Rockingham got annexed in, but probably so.
Probably so. So it's on a much smaller scale, but it appears to be pretty much the same process here as Rocking R wanted to build their home, so they probably had to request annexation. Very similar to what's happening here with these also single-family lots. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Ms.
So
White?
then,
Yes. Hi. Yeah, thank you for gathering all that information for me. I asked about that the other day, so that was very helpful to see the impact fees and all that. I was going to ask about sidewalks. Are these homes going to be required to have sidewalk frontage?
they have to build the typical section in accordance to the street section, and it does have sidewalks for this typical section.
Okay. And I was also going to ask about, so for the other people in the annexation process, what's the benefit to them to adding their properties? Would they, I know they'll have to pay city taxes. What else would benefit them?
Right now, they're kind of getting away with getting, free snow removal at the moment. But if their septic systems were to fail, right now they're in the area of city impact. And so we don't generally service sewer outside of the city limits. And so one of the benefits is that should they be annexed when their septic system fails, they'll be able to connect to city sewer.
So it wouldn't be required of them to connect to the city sewer?
It's a requirement of the council. In the past, it hasn't been a requirement of already existing properties to connect as a result of annexation. That's not to say that you couldn't make it a condition.
Okay. Thank you.
When they, would they then have to pay hookup fees, right?
They'd have to pay cap fees.
Right, yeah.
Go ahead, Don.
So the city council may approve with conditions, or deny the request to begin the annexation process. And again, an approval of this request does not guarantee an approval of the actual annexation.
This is just to begin the process. So we'll go through planning and then come back to us for eventual.
Correct.
Yeah,
And to answer Mr. North's question, when we've done these in the past, we send out letters of interest that are similar to the ones that are in your packet. If the properties say that they want to be part of the annexation, then the city does the survey work to have that part of the annexation, and the noticing happens at the same time that the noticing of the applicant happens. So it's just one public hearing instead of 14 of them for each of these properties. The reason that the agreement fee is in there, the $400 agreement fee is identified in the letters, is because those are individual agreements by property owners, and that takes staff time for those agreements and legal time, and that's pretty much the cost, straight through cost that's associated with that.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask one more question?
Certainly, go ahead.
I was going to ask about traffic impact. So 6 houses being added onto this one property could add a dozen cars to that street. Do we need to do any kind of a traffic impact study or anything like
It was identified in the long-range plans as single-family residential, and therefore that's what was planned for when those plans occurred.
that? Okay, thank you.
Don, I have one question. In the memo, it said zoning designation after annexations has been approved. We're not to that point, right? Where this is just this.
Right, they're requesting annexation with a zone designation of single-family residential. So when they come back with application,
Okay.
that's what they.
Right, I just wanted to make sure I was understanding it. Thanks.
Mayor,
Yes, sir. Mr. Roder.
point of clarification. You said single-family residential. I thought I read R1 is what they were asking.
That is single-family residential.
Right, but it's not residential suburban, which
It's
would
not.
be 2. So I just want to make sure that they want a higher density zoning than residential suburban, which is 2 houses per acre, which on that property, you might have, if it was residential suburban, 2 or 3 homes.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to be clear on that. Thank you.
Donna, could you go back to the map, please? I'd like to follow up on Mr. DePriest's question.
This
How
one?
did we end up with an island like that in the middle of the city?
Whenever we annex properties, it's done on a lot-by-lot basis at the request of the property owner. And as we end up with islands, we always reach out to folks and ask them if they want to participate in the annexation. And that's probably my phone buzzing away over there. I've been at the city of Hayden since 1998, and since 1998, we haven't had an annexation where we forced or required property owners to annex into the city. There is statute, Idaho state statute, that allows for that, but the city's never, and Fonda could speak better to this, but the city's never forced that.
Okay.
That's how we get these kind of hodgepodge of holes. This one here to the south, this one up here. There's this quirky little piece right here that's in the county, and that's how those happen.
Okay, thank you.
That's called, in the statute, that's called an island. You technically have statutory authority for a city-initiated annexation for any properties within your city boundaries that are that are islanded like that. Not that you would want to, but Don is correct, the statute provides for that.
And the letter that you are proposing that we send out does not force annexation of any of these properties. This is voluntary annexation. Okay, thank you. Further questions of Donna?
So Donna, just once again, so I'm clear, if we don't annex, they have to develop these lots to our standards, but we get no taxes again off of them using our roads.
Correct. So, okay, kind of tail on that.
Sir, Mr. Priest.
So again, as Councilmember Satterfield just said, if we deny it, they can go ahead and do it, and they have to do it to our standards anyway.
They're gonna have a hard time getting to sewer because it would be how are you gonna sewer it?
Could they remain on septic? Not with single family even the county, yeah, they would be required, the county is required because they're in our ACI to build our standards, correct?
Correct, but then they go to Panhandle Health and they try to figure out how to get septic permits and they can't get septic permits, so they get denied.
Okay.
Generally speaking, very general in its concept here.
Okay, thank you.
Follow-up question
Yes,
about,
Mr. Roder.
yeah, if I got that right, Donna, so if they are not annexed and it stays in the county, that property cannot be developed into the lots because they cannot get sewer.
That is one of the constraints. That's correct.
So it's either going to stay as the same if it remains in the county, or if we bring it in, then they can put 6 houses there. Possibly. Thank you.
More questions of Donna? Thank you, Donna, for laying that out. We appreciate it. Deliberations. Observations, comments from council.
I'll start.
Mr. Roder, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. The intersection of Wyoming and Government Way, about a year ago, we had 2 accidents within a week. That was traffic going west on Wyoming. People didn't yield to the stop sign there, and one car went across the street and went into the building on the west side. I'm concerned, again, by putting more vehicles on a road that has had accidents, and in that case, like I say, it was 2 accidents within a week about a year ago. The other concern I have, and this goes to the safety, health, and welfare of our city when I don't want to see more accidents. Also, Miles Avenue, which runs north and south, will be impacted by...
Maple, I believe.
Oh, yeah, Maple.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
Sure.
There are no sidewalks there, and that's always been a concern of mine because we have kids going to school there on the bikes, walking, number of older folks, that's me too, walking up and down that road, and there's just, and if anybody parks on Maple, it's just a real danger point. So I see that if there are 6 houses on that property, it will increase the traffic on Dakota and also increase the traffic on Maple. And I don't like that idea. We already have a lot of traffic concerns throughout the city. I'm concerned about annexing more property and creating more residential property, residential homes, when we're struggling to keep up with what we have as far as traffic and on our roads. One of the goals in our comprehensive plan is to preserve open space. That lot is an open space area. And many of you don't know this, but I live nearby. And deer live in that lot. And they come in and out, and I've seen them many, many times. I mean, that's how open it is. We are losing open space, and we know that that's a concern of our citizens. And again, I think before we, as a city, that we need to fix the road problems we have before we start annexing more property within the city. I don't think that's wise. We need to take care of what we have now without creating more density.
Other comments?
Mr. Mayor, I have a comment.
Ms. White?
Yes, I was just, I would like to say that this family has owned this property, and it's been in the single-family zoning from, how long has it, Donna, how long has it been in single-family zoning if it's been annexed on the, on the comprehensive plan?
Long time.
Long time, okay. So,
The future land use map has shown that area to be residential, single family for a long time.
for a long time, okay, yes. So, yeah, personally, I don't have a problem with with this being annexed for the single-family homes that are gonna go in there. It's not this property owner's responsibility to, I don't feel, to keep open space to, because we don't own it as a park. So for his rights to use it and develop it, I believe that we should allow this annexation. Okay, thank you.
Other comments?
I'll make a few here.
Mr. DePriest?
Yeah, this is one of those, as they all seem to be of late, because we have such a hodgepodge throughout the city. And I brought up Rocky Nar to the northeast, and even directly north, it looks like they're all single family. And then, it's certain, this certain area is almost all surrounded by single family. And we talk about context of neighborhood, okay? But I do have to agree with Councilmember Roeder about the traffic. Wyoming is another one of those narrow streets that I don't believe it has a center line, sidewalk, swale, stuff like that. Kids riding bikes, people walking, etc. It's still very sketchy, is probably especially more so in the dusk and dawn and nighttime and things like that. I am really, this is a struggle here because it can go both ways, but I think at this point in time, I would agree that we need to find a solution to the traffic issues and the safety issues of people on these narrow streets before we go putting more homes in, whether they be single families are lowest density. That's a word that's being bandied about all over the place. But when you have when you keep adding more homes on the narrow streets, we need to fix the problem of dealing with safety on the streets.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Satterfield, any comments you'd care to make?
Well, as Ed pointed out, all of these seem to be difficult anymore. I look at property rights. I look at impact to the streets. My biggest concern is not so much Wyoming as it is Maple Street. I used to live on Maple, and even back then, it's full of kids going to school all the time and stuff. And I know this is only 12 vehicles probably, but it just adds more to it. So, but then I struggle with the property rights. These folks should be able to do something with their property rather than just letting it sit there. I don't think any of the other 13, I don't think any of them are going to agree to be annexed in, knowing a lot of those folks on that side, they have no interest in sewer whatsoever. So if that's the only carrot we have to give them, I don't think it's going to work. But anyway, that's so I'm struggling with it both ways, but give me a couple more minutes to think about it.
I appreciate everyone's comments. While it's as a point to ponder for council, we already have, and I'm sorry, sir, you won't be able to say anything beyond this. This is a council deliberation. But we already have folks using these particular roads. Granted that there will be 12 additional cars, but they're already using these roads, and the city is not getting any compensation or opportunities for for impact fees to improve those from the folks that are already using these roads. I'll call them for free. I'd just like to mention that to council as a potential counterpoint in your decision. Other comments or questions from council? Mr. Roder?
Yeah, I think about, we're always faced with, well, it's just a few more, and it's a few more, and it's a few more homes, and all that adds up. And I guess that's the point. At what point do we say, well, we need to fix what we have with our roads, and we need to make sure they're safe and they're not highly congested, which are causing problems. But then we hear, well, we're just going to add 6 more, or we're going to add 12 more. All that accumulation adds to the problem. We don't have to annex property into the city. That's our decision. Do we want more people? Do we want more traffic? That's what we will be doing with allowing this annexation to happen. I mean, to me, that's the fundamental question. But at some point, we got to say, I mean, we've got Hayden Canyon to the north, which has potentially 1,500 homes that will be eventually built. It's going to be phased, but that's only 1,500. So at what point do we?
1,500 homes?
Yes. So at what point do we say, whoa, let's keep Hayden a small town feel, let's keep it safe, let's fix the problems we have before taking on more? And that's the point.
Okay. Other comments or from council members? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adopt or not the Wise annexation request.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to approve the Wise annexation request.
We have a motion to approve the Wise annexation request. Do I have a second? Hearing none, motion fails. I would still like to hear a motion regarding the Wise annexation request.
Motion, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Mr. Satterfield, would you care to make another motion?
A motion to what?
To approve, or the motion has been made to approve the annexation request, which did not receive a second. So I would still like to entertain a request,
I would like to make a motion to deny the request.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to deny the Wise annexation request. Do we have any further comments? Hearing none, roll call vote, please, Abby.
Councilmember DePriest,
Yes.
Councilmember White,
No.
Council President Roder,
Yes.
Councilmember Satterfield.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item number 5B, Law Enforcement Services Agreement with Kootenai County. As council well knows, we have been in negotiations with the county for a fair amount of time here, several months, to try to come up with an agreement to implement the approximate $1,000 increase that the citizens voted on to provide a total of 9.5 officers. And council, we have seen this draft. It has been in front of you for, a couple of times. And at the tail end of the last council meeting, we were provided with another draft, and we've had a chance to review it. Council has had an opportunity to review it and found no substantive changes from the original. Actually, there were some substantive changes, but the changes accurately reflect what the city found to be important.
Yes.
Is that a way to put it?
Yeah, they're acceptable changes.
They are acceptable changes. Thank you very much. Council members, I'd be happy to hear any discussion anyone may have regarding the law enforcement services contract. Mr. Roder.
Someone else can go
Okay.
first. I'll wait.
Ms. White?
Yes, I'm just wondering how the hiring of deputies is going. Has the sheriff been able to hire a few more?
I do not know how his current general hiring within the department is going. I just don't know that. Mr. Boyer, do you know how his general hiring in the department is going?
They have made progress, on my understanding, as far as adding additional officers. And I think out of the 10, they will be taking from existing officers to make assignments.
Yes, to kind of your point, Ms. White, the sheriff is prepared to fully assign 7 officers to the city. And then the other 3 officers, as they become hirees, will bring on. But until that point, they will be deputies who are assigned from other divisions on temporary assignments to Hayden to give us our 9.5, 10 officers.
So they will be fulfilling through new hires or whatever, they will be fulfilling their agreement of 10.
Yes, the county will have 7 fully assigned and 3 rotational. They will meet the promises that they made for the citizens to came up with that tax increase.
I can tell you that 5 have already been appointed to the positions. After the 5 were appointed, 1 left to take a job somewhere else, and he's been replaced with someone else. I know there are 5 designated right now as we sit.
Strictly Hayden.
Yes.
And actually, the sheriff told me in my last conversation with him that he had 7
Yeah.
7 designated.
There's probably been 2 more added to the list since it was announced as a congratulations at the sheriff's office as to who those individuals were, so.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor? may I-
Ms. White?
Yes, I wanted to add also, I was pleased that in the contract, we've added that we're going to get regular reporting from the sheriff. That was something I wanted added way back in January. So I'm really pleased to see that in there. I'm hoping that this contract and the sheriff's department working together will serve us well. I just want to say it's a shame that that Walmart and the alcohol establishments that are up and along Government Way are in the urban renewal district, so they're not paying their fair share of the taxes that pay the sheriff's bill. So I just think that's a shame. But overall, I'm pleased with the contract and with the addition of the new deputies.
Okay,
So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Satterfield?
Just a question. If it takes the sheriff, let's say 3 months to obtain all the deputies that are required in this contract, does the fee go up? Does it go down? Or is this the fee we're going to pay for the next year?
This is the fee the city will pay for the next year for 10 officers.
So I guess where I have a question, and I'm not an attorney, even though I like to play one from time to time, is if he's not going to provide all of the officers from day one, is that a violation of the contract?
No, he's designating them now. They're just waiting for this contract to be
Okay.
signed to formally put them in the
Okay.
city of Hayden.
That's what I needed to hear. Thank you.
Mr. DePriest, go ahead.
My understanding is, and I don't know, it sounds like there may be some confusion here, I don't know. We are going to get our 10 deputies,
Yes,
regardless of what is happening right now. It's not like we've got 7 now and we'll get 3 later. He's gonna pull off of wherever throughout the county to make sure that we have our 10 and that they meet the commitment that we promised the people when we asked the people to approve this issue. We will have our deputies.
That is correct.
Okay.
Mr. Boyer and I acknowledge that there has been some discussion regarding accountability of the deputies, and we acknowledge that this is the first year of this contract, and that in subsequent years, there may well be tweaks that we want to make. We also acknowledge that that a public safety commission, public safety committee, which we as a city, I hope will soon, well, I guess it hasn't been disbanded yet, but
No, and it has been.
it has been.
But,
Well,
yeah,
a public safety committee, we think is a good idea, and I hope that council will feel that too. And as a result of our first year's experience with this, we may well make some changes in upcoming years.
I think I'll have a comment on that in our roundtable.
Mr. Roeder.
Thank you, Mayor. You're smiling. This is a really important subject, and I've toiled with it for quite a while. Why I've toiled with it is because public safety is really one of our number one priorities, and plowing the streets, keeping people safe, are, I think, paramount for government. That, that's where your taxes go. However, we on council, myself, we have an obligation to, we're dealing with taxpayer money. And I'm concerned about what do we get for our money. When we buy a piece of equipment, everything's spelled out. We know what we're getting. My concern is I am not sure what we're getting. And I know that the people made it clear when they voted to increase the base budget, and we'll be paying the sheriff $1,077,000 some change, and that's a lot of money. I want to know, and I want to make sure, what are we getting? I'm not sure based on this contract what I'm getting, because I heard we're going to get 10 deputies, but on Exhibit 1 of the contract, I don't know why it separates dedicated and assigned of 7, but then flexible positions of 3, and one of those is a resource officer, which means we will only have the resource officer. That means the resource officer that spends 9 months at the schools, we get him in the summertime, which we only get a 1/4 of his time actually out on the roads. So do we have 9.25 deputies? I don't know. So where I'm struggling with this contract, and I'll bring up another point, which I understand the dilemma that the sheriff is in, because there's a national shortage of police officers and deputies. They've been leaving the profession, they've been retiring, and they've been having a hard time finding them. Post Falls, based on the forum last night I listened to, they said that they're short 14 deputies. So so my question is, are we going to get what we're going to pay for? I mean, but we can trust the sheriff. I mean, that's what we should do. But I think that we have the fiduciary responsibility to use the money from the taxpayers that pay for this to make sure, what are we getting? I asked the question of the county, and this goes back about a year ago. Not only will we pay the sheriff department $1,077,000 that we collect from the taxpayer that goes to the sheriff, the taxpayers of Hayden this year will pay between $3 to $4 million from their property taxes to the public safety fund, which is the sheriff's fund, which is like $40 million roughly. These are rough numbers. Some portion of that goes to pay for deputies, Marine, patrol, jail, etc. But there is a number out there that says this is how much it costs for deputies. So I asked the question of the county, of that $3.5 to $4 million, how much money of that goes to pay for deputies? I mean, so we have our contract for 10 deputies, but what do the citizens of Hayden pay to get? Their answer is, we don't know. We don't know. Now, however, if you live in right outside Hayden city property and you have a property there, they're paying the same levy rate as people inside the city of Hayden. They're paying for deputies. So why don't we know? This goes into the equation of how many deputies we need. And so this comes to the question of what are we getting? What I'd like to see is this. I did some research and that Verizon Connect, they have a tracking program that they supply to police departments throughout the United States. And they provide free hardware. So we could have our 10 deputies have free hardware, and for $15 a month per vehicle, $150 a month total, less than $2,000 a year, we can have Verizon put a perimeter around our city and know exactly how many hours we're getting for $1,077,000. I understand that the sheriff doesn't want that. I want that. I want that because I want to know for the people, for our taxpayers, what are we getting for our money? Now, the sheriff said he's going to report this to us. I think we can do it for a lot less. And I will mention that based on our budget, we have spent in our fiscal year 2022-23, $543,825 for our sheriff contract. We had a budget amount of $702,000 and change. So there's a difference of about $150,000 that we have a carryover. We have enough money to spend $2,000 a year to put tracking devices in these vehicles. We don't need to know where they are all the time. It just says when they come into Hayden, how much time do they spend there? And I think that's a fair thing. I'm looking in for what are we getting for our tax money? And the sheriff, my understanding is it's a non-starter for him. So that's where my concern is on the contract is what are we getting and what accountability we have for what we're getting.
Thank you, Mr. Reuter. Mr. DePriest.
Okay, I was going to wait, but I'm not. Council President Roeder brought up a lot of issues, a lot of concerns, and a lot of components to this whole issue. Personally, I think that from the sound of it, we're looking at a ratcheting up as we go along here. I believe we've been asked to put together a 5-year plan, which sounds like it's basically going to be how you're going to pay for what we're going to want more of. We have the contract, we have the county law enforcement, whatever that's called, that we pay for anyway.
Public safety.
Public safety, okay. How much of that, what is that increment to each citizen's tax bill? And I think that, you know, again, the commission came up, or task force, whatever we want to legally call it. I think we need to look at putting together some form of exploration committee to start looking at the feasibility of down the road forming our own police force, because eventually I can see the amount they want basically going to pass the line of what we could do our own for. And I believe I've heard that there are grants and various ways to fund starting these, but whether or not it actually comes about, I think it would be a good idea to start looking at it. Otherwise, I just see the cost continually going this way. And if we did have our own, we have more control. And that's, you know, we know who they would be officers, because it would be a police force, not deputies, which are the sheriff. And sometimes they don't, each, you know, there's troopers and officers and deputies, and don't mix them up, type of thing. But I think we need to take a serious look at least considering it and looking down the road, because personally, you know, they're going to want more and more and more and more. So.
In our discussions, yes, I believe the sheriff does want more and more. The sheriff has suggested that we have, I believe, 26 officers on board, but the problem that I see with that is that that will, in order for us to fund 26 additional officers, every citizen, every homeowner, every property owner in the city of Hayden is going to have to come up with about $480 extra dollars in taxes every year. So for us to actually fund what the sheriff wants is going to be a huge tax burden to the citizens of our. But you are correct. The sheriff would certainly like to see more deputies than what we have here now. Other comments, questions?
Mayor, I would, oh, Roger, did you want to go? 'Cause- go ahead.
I think Matt and Ed have both brought up good points. We've looked into providing our own police force in the past. It's been prohibitive because of the cost, but, you know, call me a diehard, but I think somewhere out there, there has to be an innovative way to have our own police force at a reasonable cost. So I agree with Ed that we should be looking into that. I'm glad this is only a one-year contract. Is the sheriff against, I mean, is this a deal killer if we request that we put GPS or whatever Verizon on?
Mr. Roeder is correct. The sheriff has indicated at this point that's a non-starter for the county.
Okay. All right, I gotta think about that one a little bit more then. So yes, I agree with Ed that we need to pursue this more. We had a great committee, smart committee that put all of this together and stuff, and I would really like to lean on them again to go a little bit further and look into our own police force. We'd have so much more control over them. And I think that's good. Anyway, that's.
Okay. With
One more?
further, Mr. Roeder?
Sorry.
And then we're going to move on.
All right, yeah, the point I want to make is I would vote for this contract if the sheriff allowed us to put the tracking devices, which are free from Verizon, the hardware's free, and we pay the $2,000 roughly a year, which we have the money in our budget for, to cover it. Otherwise, I'm voting no. I think accountability for that amount of money is critical. And to be working for our citizens, at least for me, I think that's vital that we watch their money.
Mr. Boyer.
Just go through a couple things that Council President Roeder brought up. In looking at the contract, when we spent time with the Citizen Task Force, and then after, as we presented the information to the citizens, we were very careful to mention out of the 10, one of those officers was an SRO officer. And so the public is aware that out of the 10, one of those is SRO, and then we knew we wouldn't have that individual. What we heard was key to have 2 officers, 24 hours, and that is in the contract. We have in here the 10 deputies, which is what, with our original 4 and then adding the 6 for the amount that is in here. We put in here that there would be these monthly reports that were very specific to come up with statistics on coverage by officer, the hours used, crime and citation activity for the quarter, and any other statistics that are helpful. I think putting together some format of a citizen public safety committee to review this here soon as we're going, it's not going to be simple at the beginning. There may be some bumps in the road, but we've tried to honor what the citizens requested and put that in this contract. And you say, what are we getting? So it says 10 deputies, 7 days a week, covering days, swing and graveyard, 2 dedicated officers per each shift. And then the scope of services are in IA, and it mentions what they will be doing as far as patrol services with random patrolling of residential areas, business parks, and other enforcement of Idaho state statutes, ordinances of the city, traffic enforcement, including regular use of radar, criminal investigative crime scene processing, and so forth. And so that's what we're getting. I do think we have a little bit of an issue. October 1 is coming up, and if we were to approve it, I think we're going to need to follow up. I think with your concern, we could still go back to the sheriff and present the information you have, that the cost of the tracking devices could be borne here. Are they willing to do that? And it could be amended to the contract, during the year. At this point, we did bring it up, and that was a no, that at this point they're not doing that. And maybe there's other reasons other than the cost. It might be whatever they have as far as, providing that information, who has the information. I mean, people have been sensitive about, recently about tracking and looking at vehicles on 95. Perhaps there's some sensitivity along those lines. I don't know, but we did bring it up, and that was a no.
Well, and I can add to that, I think you'll want to be detailed in the parameters if they were to agree to it, because if a Hayden deputy transports a suspect to jail, they're leaving the city of Hayden to go to the jail. If they go to court, they're leaving the city of Hayden to go to court. If they go to do an interview at the detectives division, they're leaving the city of Hayden to go to the detectives division, but yet they're technically still working for the city of Hayden. So I think you'd want to be able to identify in that tracking, if it's approved, and log or report legitimate reasons for leaving the city of Hayden, because they won't spend the entirety of their time in the city of Hayden doing law enforcement work.
But and to that point, if I may, they could be going up to Athol to deal with something and leaving Hayden. That's the thing about, I don't have a handle on, and again, you can be very specific, and this Verizon does tracking for many sheriff's department, police departments throughout the U.S. They're really good at it, and we can set it up so that you make a perimeter around the city, and it's just identifying how many hours and minutes are being spent actually in the city. You don't have to know where they are exactly. It's a way of tracking
data.
hours. It's just hours. That's what I'm asking, is some accountability with, because what if there's a surge of problems on state line because of drug use, and then the Hayden deputies are over there. So I mean, it goes both ways. I understand. But that's why having some kind of tracking of hours would be helpful in evaluating what we're getting. And that's all I'm asking.
I'm sorry. Okay, just a sec. Ms. White?
May I ask Councilmember Roeder a question about the tracking? Who would track the tracking? Who would be in charge of?
Verizon does.
So who would they report to?
They give us a monthly report or whatever.
Monthly report to the city council?
However we want it set up, or to the sheriff also. It maybe saves him money, and that's why they're willing to do a presentation to the sheriff to show him what they can do. That's what I'm asking, is we ought to take a look at it.
If we do approve this tonight, we did ask our representative, Kevin Smart, who comes to our staff meetings, to then forward this on to the county commissioners for their consideration at their next meeting, which would be next Wednesday, which is after October 1st. So there would have to be a little bit of trust that with what the sheriff has agreed to do. So I just put that out there based on the timing. Need to be aware of that.
And we're under a current contract that continues until a new one starts. So we still have a contract with the county for public safety, correct?
Yeah, but they have the ability to end that contract with notice.
So then we don't pay them?
Right.
Then you may not have services.
$700,000, that's,
No, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have,
I need to ask.
Go ahead.
I need to ask a question. What are the consequences if we don't approve it tonight and we pass the October 1st deadline? Service interruption, what happens?
I think we'd have to ask the sheriff, whether or not if it looks like this isn't going to be a contract that's going to go, then we need to address, what we're going to do with the funds that we would start collecting as far as property tax. We would need to hear from the sheriff whether or not he is going to, what level of service he's going to provide, he would go back to the original contract, which would be 4 officers with 1 SRO. If that's what the council is saying that we would pay them until we approve the contract, or if it's likely that the contract's going to be approved, maybe there's some trust involved and he starts with the 10 right away. So I can't tell you what actions or how they would respond. I don't know.
Ladies and gentlemen of the council, we have before us as written, I certainly understand and appreciate everybody's concerns on it. At this point, I think everyone has given a good idea of their feelings on it, and I would appreciate a motion on whether or not to approve the law enforcement services agreement with Kootenai County.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move
Ms.
that
White,
we accept the contract as presented.
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second to approve the law enforcement services agreement. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion.
We already have a motion on.
My motion is to amend their motion.
You can make a motion to amend the motion.
Go ahead, Ms. Roder.
My motion is that we amend the contract to include hourly tracking that the city would pay for on the 10 vehicles that we are to have patrolling our city.
We have a motion to amend the contract to include
Hourly tracking by Verizon through a contract with Verizon that we, the city, pay for, that includes free hardware for the vehicles. And the quote that I got initially was about $2,000 a year for 10 vehicles.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. Back to our original motion. Is there any further comment from council members? Hearing none, roll call vote, please, Abby.
Councilmember Satterfield,
Yes.
Council President Roder,
No.
Councilmember DePreez.
Yes.
And Councilmember White.
Yes.
Motion passes. Moving on to item number 6, reports. We have the city administrator report. Mr. Boyer?
Yeah, just a couple items. You might, take a look. You approved replacing some of the carpet in the building, and that is mostly done. We have them coming back to fix just a couple things on it, but we had some major wear spots and things like that, and so I think it looks pretty nice. And some of the employees on their own wanted to paint, and we had some paint already left over and on some other projects, and they painted their offices. And so if you take a look at some of those offices, they look really nice. So thank you for allowing us to get that carpet installed. I was going to mention a grant came up for the Stoddard Barn. That was, she mentioned, Malia mentioned the Stoddard Barn. We budgeted next year $25,000 to do some upkeep, maintenance, and preservation on the barn while we're in process to see if we can't do something with it. There is a grant that's offered by the state. It's not a huge grant. I imagine it's probably something similar to matching what our $25,000 is. It's due Friday. We just found out about it, and Donna has agreed to write that grant. And I told her that we should just move forward with that. But I wanted to let you know because I didn't think there would be any opposition to augmenting the money that we have budgeted to help with Stoddard Barn. And some of the folks on the state level have seen the facility, inspected it, and think there's great potential for some cool community events and things that could happen there. So, and I don't know if that, we wanted to put you on notice that just came up, and there's not really any downside to it. And so we wanted to proceed and apply for it. And then if we do get it, those documents would come back for acceptance by the council. We have been working on the comp plan information. Donna has provided for you just to take and look at. We'll hand that out. It's not an item for discussion tonight, but she has a process that Fonda and Donna have looked at to move forward with the comp plan changes. And so take a look at that, and you can give us any feedback you would like on that.
Thank you.
Not tonight, but in the coming weeks. And Donna was putting together a synopsis of all your comments that we then could put together in a document to give to the planning and zoning. The reminder this week, on Friday at 8:30 a.m. at the county building is the second Harbs dissolution meeting. And I believe she also was giving you a copy of the agenda. Oh, no, we sent it out. You should have it via email with the items. And so if you could plan on being there, that's another important topic that the city needs to work on. And then last item here is we did receive another letter from the Bible Church on the corner of Hayden and Government Way asking the city if we would lease them the city property there to the north of their property or possibly sell them the property. And so I believe a copy of that letter that we just received recently was given to you. So that's also not an agenda item. We wanted to give you the letter, but I think we might want to put that on for discussion next time.
Would that discussion be an open session or executive session?
I think we probably need to do an executive session on that. So, anyways, and again with that, I think that is all I have. I think most people know I'm a short timer, but I will run through the finish line of the city how I can, and I just wanted to say thank you again and appreciate working with you, all of you, and I will. If you have any questions or anything like that, I didn't want to say goodbye tonight, but wanted to at least make sure people knew that I had accepted a position in Burley and have really appreciated my time here and the opportunities that I've had here.
We have one more council meeting with you.
Yes, I'm here the 10th.
There you go. Thank you very much. Roundtable items. Ladies and gentlemen, council.
I have a couple.
Mr. Roeder.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to report, Roger and I sit on the Hayden Area Regional Sewer Board. He's the voting member. I'm the backup. If he's not there, I get to vote. But I just wanted to report that Ken Windrum, our administrator of the Harbs our sewer plant, said that we have 1,034 residential connections available out at the sewer plant. I just thought that was interesting to bring up. And also, the Harbs got a certificate of recognition from the EPA on what a good job they're doing, on how they achieving their levels of analytes that they analyze. And I won't go into the types, but anyway, they're doing a good job processing your poop. And I thought that was important.
Thank you, sir.
And I won't get all sobby here, but I'm going to miss Brett. He and I started about the same time. We were learning together. He knew a lot more because he was already city administrator. I'm going to miss him and his ability to juggle balls, so many of them, and do it with such calmness, which maybe not inside, but he shows it outside. But I just want to thank he and his family for being part of our community and making it better the way that where we're going. And you're going to be a hard one to replace. I'll just tell you. So thank you, Brad. I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you.
Others?
Yes.
Ms. Weiss?
Yes, I have two items that I would like to discuss. One is, I was thinking about there's going to be a broadcast or a shutdown of the internet or something for a few days. I have to research that more. But it brought to my mind that we're still short a generator in the city. And if the electricity or the internet was to go down, do we have a backup generator? So I would like to maybe put that on as a topic for next meeting, to talk about the generator situation and get a recommendation from Michael as to what kind of generator we need, and if we can put that on a purchase plan, get something like that. And then the other one is, I was noticing that we have a bulletin board to notice our meetings, but it's inside locked doors over the weekend. And the Idaho statute requires that notices and agendas are in a prominent place. And I don't feel like that's prominent. I believe that there's a really good spot outside our doors to put a bulletin board, and I'd like to present my ideas at our next meeting. So I'd like that to go on the agenda for the next meeting.
All right.
Thank you.
Anything else?
The electronic side,
Always on the
Yes.
agenda.
the agenda is down.
Hearing none, motion to adjourn? We stand adjourned at 6:48 PM.